Thanks for joining us this week for UND Sports Extra. I'm Alex Heinert. We'll have the details on North Dakota football's 2017 recruiting class a little later in the program, but we start tonight with basketball. Only one game apiece for the UND men and women, but the importance of their matchup versus travel partner Northern Colorado could not be understated. Out to Greeley, Colorado, home of the last unbeaten women's team in the Big Sky. UNC entered Saturday's tilt on an 11-game winning streak, but it was North Dakota, winners of 10 of their last 11, with the fast start. The visitors would score 9 of the first 10 points in this one and lead 14-4 after the first, holding the Bears to a single field goal in the opening frame. UNC would close the gap to 1 at the half after a 21-point second quarter, but North Dakota would regain control after the break, embarking on a 14-0 run to start the third. UND would lead by 11 entering the fourth, but Savannah Smith, Northern Colorado's leading scorer, would go for 16 of her game-high 22 points in the second half to cut the lead to 4 with under 3 minutes left. Lexi Clabo and UND, though, would step up their defense down the stretch, and they would preserve the 57-51 victory, a huge one in the Big Sky standings. Clabo would go for 8 points and 15 rebounds, while Fallon Frigi would post her third double-double this season with 10 points and 10 boards. The big story, though, the play of UND's defense. The Fighting Hawks would hold the league's second-best shooting team to just 25% from the field and 16% from behind the arc. They would also turn 16 Bear turnovers into 15 points. North Dakota would get 26 points from their bench, including 9 apiece from Grace Sawatsky and Samantha Roscoe. Back home in Grand Forks, the North Dakota men were looking to get back on the winning track after a tough road loss at Northern Arizona the week before. But it would be Northern Colorado who would control the early going. The Bears would shoot 52% from the floor and go 6 for 10 from behind the arc in the first 20 minutes. They'd lead by as many as 14 with 7 minutes remaining in the first. But Brian Jones's crew would go on a 17-5 run to close out the half. They would trail by just 2 at the break. After being down for much of the second half, Gino Crandall would pull the Hawks level at 64 all with this jumper at 1:47 left to play. UNC's Chaz Glada would answer with 3 of his team-high 22 points at the other end, only for Connor Avance to respond with an old-fashioned three-point play of his own, tied again at 67. Ensuing possession, Quentin Hooker would scoop up his 6th steal of the night, one of 19 UNC turnovers, and would get fouled on the way to the basket. The preseason conference player of the year would calmly drill both free throws to put UND up 69-67 with just 9 seconds left. That would be enough time, though, for Jordan Davis. The sophomore would race to the block and hit this jumper with 3 ticks left to send the game into overtime. Davis would just be delaying the inevitable, however. It was all UND from there on out. North Dakota would score the first 9 points of the extra frame, and they would never look back, pulling out the hard-fought 87-77 overtime victory. Hooker would go for a game-high 26 points, one of 5 players in double figures for UND, as the Fighting Hawks moved to 8-3 in the Big Sky to remain tied for second place with Eastern Washington.
They were just absolutely hitting everything that they put up, and so we adjusted our defense, put in kind of a smaller lineup, and those guys really guarded really hard, guys like Tez and Josh. And then it was a close game down the stretch in the second half. We made a couple plays, forced it into overtime, and from there, Q kind of took over.
I think it took a lot of guts from our team. You know, Coach always says that we're never out of a game, and I think that showed tonight where we dug down in the second half and in overtime and really fought for the win. I'm gonna miss it. It's something, it's something crazy here at the Betty, and God has blessed me to be fortunate enough to go here, and it's so much fun. I wouldn't trade for anything.
Up next for the UND men and women games against Eastern Washington and Idaho, we'll hear from Travis Brewster about his matchups with the Vandals and the Eagles when we come back.
UND Sports Extra on Midco Sports Network is presented by Farmers Union Insurance and the University of North Dakota.
Well, it was a priceless road win for North Dakota women's basketball out in Greeley, and head coach Travis Brewster is here to talk through it with us. And coach, you entered that game against an 18-win Bear team that was receiving votes in the national polls. You go out to the mountains, you come back with a huge win. Just talk about what this means for you guys moving forward.
Well, when we went out there, it was just for us. We said, hey, we have to take care of our business, and we're playing them. A lot of pressure was on them. They're the team that was undefeated in the Big Sky. They were the team receiving votes. For us, we were just playing the game to win. And play the best possible game we could. I thought our team did a good job of executing. We did some things differently that we haven't done before, from just not taking a shoot around and not even practicing out there, just because of the travel problems that you run into with that. But I thought they responded pretty well. We didn't shoot as well as we normally have, but we found a way to get her done.
Yeah, this was a UNC team that was 10-0, the only unbeaten team left in Big Sky play. They were beating teams by an average of 13 points in conference games. What was your game plan entering this contest?
Well, we really felt like, for us, that we needed to take their two leading scorers out of the game. So I challenged Michaela Dyer, Chastity Franklin, and Grace Swatsky defensively, could see what they could do. And then we sprinkled in a little bit with some other defenders like Bailey Strand and things. And we said, hey, if we can slow them down and we can continue to do what we do, we felt like we had a really good chance to be successful. But credit them. They made some big baskets at the right time and cut things down. But I thought defensively it was one of our better games we've played all year.
Yeah, that seemed to be really the big difference in this one, especially early. You hold them to just one field goal the entire first quarter. They only scored 4 points in those opening 10 minutes. What was the key to that fast start for you on the defensive end?
It was just the tenacity of how they were playing on the floor. It's 8% field goal shooting. It wasn't anything spectacular for them, but our players, I thought, really said, hey, we're really gonna lock you up and see what else can happen out there on the floor. But it's a tough game to play that way. It's not common this day and age to try to win it on the defensive side.
Yeah, they came in averaging around 75 points. They were shooting 46% from the field, 41% on threes. You hold them 24 points below their average. They only shoot 25% from the field, only 16% from three. You forced 16 turnovers. I mean, it was just preaching that defensive effort from start to finish that really got the job done for you.
Well, yeah, Alex, I really believe that our players just bought into what we were doing defensively. A lot of times we just play people straight up, and we said, hey, we're going to try something a little bit different here. And Michaela's, known to score. That's been kind of her MO since she's been here, and challenged her to do more of a defensive type of effort. And I thought Grace Swatsky did a great job defensively for us coming in. But again, you look at Samantha Roscoe, Fallon Friegi, and Lixie Clabo. They pose a problem. Down inside down there, and of course now Sam's out there shooting threes and things. But it's fine, because as long as they come work on their stuff, we're okay with it. But I was just happy because it was a very good team win. Everybody contributed. They got into the game and did some nice things.
Yeah, you mentioned everybody jumping in, 6 players with at least 7 points. You had a lot of different contributors. Nobody really went off offensively. This was such a good defensive game from both sides. Yep. But having that kind of balance when no one is particularly hot on the offensive end really made a difference in this game.
Well, you're preparing yourself for March, because offense, it comes and goes, but defense is something you can always control. And I thought, they did a good job of trying to make us do some things differently as well, and we have to get better at it as ourselves. But, being able to go out and win on the road is just exciting.
Yeah, a huge win to put you now atop the standings, tied with Northern Colorado, plus you've got the tiebreaker over them, 57-51. Just talk about the response from the girls after this game.
Well, we went in the locker room and, we talked about, what some of the things we needed to do and what we did well. And, their big thing was, hey, Coach, we're going to hit Chick-fil-A, right, in the Denver airport. And, they're smart to ask when.
Priorities, yeah.
Priorities right there. But they were excited, and they worked hard, so I was happy for them.
Yeah, you've now won 11 of your last 12. What was the stat you said dating back to last season? How many is this?
Yeah, I think Mitch Wigness we were talking about, and he said something like 21 or 22 of our last 24 or something like that. Yeah. we've done, and it's amazing for the players to be able to have that accomplishment, because they're working at it, and it's part of a tradition of other players before them. So it's not going to get any easier, obviously, with our next games, but they had a chance to enjoy this one a little bit with one game that week.
Yeah, certainly an impressive stretch dating all the way back to last January, and you mentioned the road getting tougher because you do have to go out to the West Coast to take on a very good Eastern Washington team and Idaho after that. Just talk about these two matchups that are coming up this weekend.
Well, two different teams. Eastern Washington's a little bit more physical, and they're a little bit bigger of a team. They're very good at scheming and what they do. You turn around and you play Idaho, who likes to just shoot more. So we're going to have to be on our P's and Q's, that's for sure.
And we'll safe travels out to the West this week. Brew, we'll talk about it next week.
Yep, thank you.
The UND men also victorious over UNC this weekend. We'll catch up with Brian Jones after the break. Even with only one game on the schedule this week, 40 minutes of basketball, not enough for Brian Jones and company. A little overtime victory and a big one, certainly over Northern Colorado. Brian, what a great game of basketball on Saturday for you and the guys.
It was. I mean, it wasn't always pretty. I thought we really weathered the storm, but after going back and watching on film, it was a heck of a game. They played really well. I thought we played really well outside of the first 10 minutes defensively, even though they made some shots. But just give our guys a lot of credit for weathering that storm and staying the course. But it's that time of year. It's February. Everybody's probably playing pretty good basketball right now. So you really got, whether home or away, you really got to have that attention to detail and focus and toughness to find ways to win.
Yeah, you mentioned weathering the storm. Those first 10 minutes, they couldn't miss. Bears hit their first 6 shots. They built a 14-point lead. Didn't feel like you were playing poor defense. They were just making shots from the perimeter and taking advantage.
They were. They hit 5 straight threes, and that kind of took us out of probably a little bit of a rhythm offensively because we were, oh man, they're hitting shots. But some of those, they were contested. They were good defense. That's all you can control. Did we arrive on the catch? Did we contest the shots? Did we finish with a checkout? But as a coach, I always say they can't continue this type of shooting. That's why you got to stay the course and stick to your habits. And luckily for us, we made a couple changes, played a little bit smaller, a little bit more athletic, and that seemed to do the job for us.
Yeah, certainly. That sparked a 17-5 run. To end the first half, you closed that gap all the way down to 2 again, which was a 14-point lead. A lot of credit to your team to make those adjustments halfway through.
It was, and it had a lot of unique lineups. So I think our team has shown that ability to do that this year and never get caught up in traditional things. Sometimes you got to play unconventional, and it works for you, especially at home. Sometimes you're able to do that and find some success. I think we've done it over the course of 4 or 5 games throughout the year, so the guys have real confidence in doing it.
Second half, UND able to keep it close, never were able to take the lead. The lead for UNC hovered between 4 and 9. They never pulled away. How big was it to keep within that touching distance in the second half?
You know what? As a coach, I was sitting there, man, we just got to get a couple stops and get a couple baskets. You could feel the crowd wanting to really erupt and our guys really to get it going, and it wasn't happening until a couple plays where we got some stops, and obviously late. We're down 3. They're at the foul line shooting 2 with 53 or so seconds to go, and just they missed 2, and we get a big possession, get an and one, and really that really sparked us to where maybe it demoralized them a little bit. In overtime, we really played at a high level offensively and defensively and got out to a 10-point lead.
Yeah, that was really the difference. A great start to overtime. The crowd, I thought, made a huge difference as well. You said they wanted to get into it. Guys like Gino and Quentin and Connor, all those guys helped give them something to cheer about.
They did, and our crowd, honestly, has been great all year, and it was great last year. It was a big reason why we had success at home. It's the big reason why we're 8-1 right now at home. And we're going to need them this week, no doubt. I would encourage everybody to show up Thursday and Saturday. You're going to see 2 teams that are playing dynamite right now, Eastern Washington and Idaho, who have difference makers on their teams. They're well coached, but we're going to need every ounce of energy and enthusiasm in that gym to help our guys find ways to win on both nights.
Yeah, certainly your team playing great basketball right now, winners of 4 of your last 5. And as you said, though, a couple of big tests coming in. Eastern Washington on Thursday, and this is a team with 2 guys averaging over 19 points a game, including the nation's player of the week in Jacob Wiley. How do you slow the Eagles down in a game like that?
Besides crossing your fingers, I don't know. Wiley is, I'll tell you what, he's averaging 27, and I want to say 31 in his last 4 games. Yeah. He's coming off a 45 and a 31-point effort. Tremendous talent. Started his career at Montana, goes NAIA. Now he's there, and he's playing phenomenal. And then they got Beliznik, who's been a stronghold for him for years. So they're just extremely talented, unique. They play like a European team, a lot of length, a lot of size that really shoot the ball. So you got to pick your poison. You're taking away the post, you're taking away the 3. That's what we're, as coaches, that's what we're deciding right now. We got to find a way to win that game, and what are we willing to give up? What are we willing to take away?
Yeah, a big team and a big test. 8-3, right tied with you at second place in the standings. Idaho right behind at 7-4. Victor Sanders, a big-time player for them as well. A lot of exciting basketball I think we can expect coming up this weekend.
It is, and I think that's what's exciting for our fans. They're going to see, as I mentioned, good teams and really good players. I'm always promoting this league. There's such good talent in this league that maybe not a lot of people know about, and as coaches, you're scratching your head. How is he playing at this level? How is he at that program? He could be playing higher, but it's just the coaches have done a great job of recruiting these kids, and these kids have gone on and really developed their skill set. And this league is a great league, and we're seeing a lot of talented players throughout the year.
Still tied for second in this league, just 2 games back of Weber State, but you've got the victory over the Wildcats. Playing now 2 teams right with you. This really is moving week for this team in this league.
It is, and obviously we can't worry about what Weber State's doing, or even Montana. Montana State are just 2 games
Yeah, right
back.
there too.
I mean, it's crazy right now, and that's the thing. So we kind of focus on ourselves, keep it simple, and just as long as we take care of our own destiny, nothing else matters.
Yeah, well, incredibly, just 1 homestand after this weekend for Brian Jones's crew. Coach, best of luck with the couple of games this week. We'll talk to you about them soon.
Thank you.
Be sure to get out and support these guys coming up on Thursday and Saturday. When we come back, we're going to take a look at the football recruiting class for North Dakota in 2017. Stay tuned. Last Wednesday was National Signing Day for high school student athletes across the country, and a handful of talented players made North Dakota their official destination to continue their football careers. Here now, a recap of North Dakota's class of 2017.
February 1st saw 20 high school standouts from 6 different states join the University of North Dakota football program, with 15 signing national letters of intent and 5 more joining as preferred walk-ons to add to a group of 4 early signees from December.
We always want to try to improve our football team by increasing the talent level on our team, and you do that through recruiting and developing the guys that you have. So this is an exciting day and a fun time, and we want to share it with our supporters across the region and all our alums and fans, and it's really a lot of fun to do that.
12 in the class of 2017 are slated to play on offense, including quarterbacks Andrew Zimmerman of Monroe, Washington, and Brock Boltman of Edina, Minnesota. Zimmerman, who has 3 years of eligibility remaining, began his collegiate career at Eastern Washington before moving on to Fresno City College last year, throwing 17 touchdowns to just 4 interceptions in 6 games. Boltman, a 3-sport star at Edina High School, threw for over 3,000 yards, rushed for 1,000, and scored 32 total touchdowns in his prep career.
Brock Boltman is a kid that you really notice. He reminds me a little bit of a guy that you know well, Keaton Studs. Very athletic. He's got a strong arm, and he's instinctive.
Former Fargo South standout James Johannesson completed his transfer to UND in December after spending the last 2 seasons at Minnesota. The 6'1", 230-pound running back rewrote the North Dakota prep record books in his time with the Bruins, rushing for over 6,000 yards and scoring 81 touchdowns.
James Johannesson is one of those players. I've never seen a North Dakota high school running back do what he's done. He's definitely got those Big Ten measurables, the power, the speed. And I remember back as a high school player, a 2-time Gatorade Player of the Year in high school. You know, he did things that I didn't see anybody else do.
Other offensive skill players signed in the class of 2017 include slot receivers Cameron McKinney of Seattle, Izzy Adioti of Plano, Illinois, and Mikey Greibel of Littleton, Colorado.
I'd make the argument he's the best all-around football player to come out of the state this year. I mean, he can really do everything, and as one of those slot guys, he's got the speed to really be elusive in the middle of the field and then going vertical as well.
UND also added size and skill up front with the capture of Matamidi, Minnesota tight end Graham DeVore, as well as 3 offensive linemen in Will Prine of Council Bluffs, Iowa, Jeremy Jenkins of South Elgin, Illinois, and Connor Cruz of Waconia, Minnesota.
Connor Cruz is a massive kid, man. He's a big dude. I know he was the Wright County Conference Alignment of the Year. He's going to run you down. He's got that offensive line smaller mentality.
On the other side of the ball, UND defensive coordinator Eric Schmidt added a player at every position, including a trio of talented linemen in Jalen Morrison of Woodbury, Minnesota, Nick Honorlaw of Milwaukee, and Zeke Ott, a 3-star defensive end from Caledonia, Minnesota.
He's a tall, rangy defensive lineman. We think he can become a really good pass rusher.
I think you've got a real possible star in Zeke Ott. He's going to be a player you're going to be very, very pleased with.
The secondary was addressed with corners Kyle Hippis of Little Chute, Wisconsin, and Hayden Blubaugh of Aurora, Colorado, to go along with safeties Tyler Shannon of Arvada, Colorado, and junior college transfer Tamis Stewart of Rialto, California. Blubaugh was an all-state running back in Colorado's highest class of prep football, but his athleticism and length make him an exciting prospect in the defensive backfield.
Just like Greibel and Shannon, he's got speed to run with guys down the field.
Noah Larson of Baraboo, Wisconsin, and Leif Bungum of Dodge Center, Minnesota, were both highly decorated at the prep level as 2-way players, but both project to be impact linebackers for the Fighting Hawks. 2 other linebackers in this class are preferred walk-ons Bryden Swenson of Kitson County, Central Minnesota, and Hayden Reynolds of West Fargo. Reynolds, a 2-time All-State selection, is the first player from West Fargo Cheyenne to earn a spot on an FCS roster.
It's definitely very humbling. I didn't really expect this coming into Cheyenne as a freshman and stuff, but just to be here, it's just great.
Other preferred walk-ons in this class include fullback Andrew Jones from Hunter, North Dakota, receiver Jack Pfeiffer of Fargo South, and kicker Brady Leach of Moorhead. UND opens spring practice on March the 3rd with the annual spring game set for April 14th. Bubba Schweigert and the defending Big Sky champions opened their 2017 campaign in Salt Lake City against the Pac-12 Utah team coming off a 9-4 season. More schedule news on the way. When we come back, we'll set the scene for the week ahead in UND athletics.
UND Sports Extra on Midco Sports Network is presented by Farmers Union Insurance and the University of North Dakota.
Midco Sports Network has one of the biggest games of the Big Sky men's basketball season on the air this Thursday as UND takes on Eastern Washington in the battle of teams tied for second place in the conference standings. Tip-off is at 7 p.m. Greg Steeman and I will have the call. Looking at the rest of the UND calendar, the North Dakota tennis teams are in action in Grand Forks this weekend as the women host Portland State on Saturday while the men take on Montana on Sunday. Both of those duels are at Choice Health and Fitness. Elsewhere, women's hockey has a big series at defending national champ Minnesota, while men's hockey gets the weekend off. Again, we hope you join us this Thursday for UND Men's Basketball Live here on Midco Sports Network, and again next Tuesday night for our next edition of UND Sports Extra. Until then, I'm Alex Heinert. Thanks for watching.